I am here. I forgot to turn on my grow light. I am in a little corner, it's what I call my closet, Harry Potter closet office. It's beneath my staircase. So that's why it's like a little Harry Potter closet. But it's like a pretty long closet, which is some folks were asking me like, is this a shower? And no, that's not. I'm not in a bathroom. I'm in a closet. It has electricity, which is I'm like shocked by because why would you need electricity in a closet? But it has like an outlet behind that curtain is all my shit that I really need to get rid of, but I just need to like find the time and energy to do so. And I need to like release it. I need to release it to universe. It's stuff that I've been hanging on to that I really, really need to let go. Like, I have a bunch of seeds that I've been meaning to plant, but I need to just let it go. There's some books back there. There are some legit things that I need, like cheesy smiles. We buy it in like at Costco, cheesy smiles, which is like basically like puffed Cheetos for the kids. They're so good. Well, I wanted to talk to y'all today about what it means. I just want to share a little bit of my personal story. Um, my internet is struggling today, so I just want to apologize if I keep coming in and out. You'll see like the connection pause sometimes, and I just want to let you know that I'll stay on, and I see it coming in and out, but I'll stay on, and it'll just like cut back to where it cuts back, and we'll continue from there. I wanted to share a little bit about my story, about where I am right now, um, what I'm doing. My name is Angela. I'm a therapist, mental health therapist, entrepreneur, business coach, and I serve uh, Asian American entrepreneurs and therapists and healers um, to create space to work through their attachment wounds and their shadow parts so that they can step out into the next level of their business or their practice. I wanted to share today about what how I've struggled in currently in the past, and normalizing like outgrowing stuff, normalizing outgrowing our identities, our practices, our previous responsibilities and relationships, maybe, and just kind of like normalizing all that. Um, Something that I noticed recently for me was when I grew up in New York City. I'm a proud New Yorker. I grew up in Queens, Long Island City, Sunnyside. I spent a little time in Flushing. Most of my life was in Long Island City. And then afterwards, I left the city and never came back from when I was 18 and older. And so for me, it was really important for me, I noticed, was that I was a really fast walker, a really fast talker, and I was in my masculine energy a lot in New York. I worked in really high intense ways, even as like a high schooler, as a kid. And I just did everything with a lot of intensity. So if you know me, like you know that I move really quickly in my business decisions, in my personal decisions. I just like if I have an idea, I like go for it. I jump into it full on. And that is the type of town that New York attracts. Like that's the type of people that New York attracts. It attracts folks that are very much in their masculine energy, very much like giving, producing, putting themselves out there. And for me, I did not recognize that I had parts that really are not in that mode. I was masking a lot of my ADHD, masking a lot of my anxiety, and masking a lot of my um, anxiety, depression, and just noticing that in New York, I was able to just kind of bypass a lot of that and just push through, not be vulnerable, not ask for help, and not reach out, not ask for help, and just like totally just bypass all of that. And something that I was just reflecting on recently was why I went to like this small town in rural Connecticut, why I was drawn to that. I was drawn to that because there was this fantasy that I could just like change my environment, just chill the fuck out, cool down, not be so intense. But actually, a lot of my intensity just like ramped up, but showed up in different ways. I have been working since I was like really young. I got my worker's permit. I don't know if other states do this, but like in New York City, you could like get a working permit to start legally working and getting paid when you're, I think, 14 years old. And I went ahead and did that. I went ahead and did that even though I had no job lined up, but I was very much like ready to work, get paid. I think I applied for Starbucks as my first job. Shout out to Starbucks with employing me as a teenager. And I was really just trying to put myself out there and like really hustle. And that's what I just like felt like was in my DNA, was just to hustle and to like be out, be continually busy and outputting. And for me, that didn't ever really shift. Even when I moved to Connecticut, I like immediately when I could, I applied to be an RA. I don't know if y'all know what that is. It's a residence assistant. I feel like a lot of us therapists who are mental health therapists are like used to be RAs or used to be like folks that worked in academia with administrative support or student support. Because like that really just like that role kind of really sets you up really well to be people that like your floor mates go to for help, for free coaching and counseling. um for me, I at that at that stage of my life, I my I was still in autopilot mode. I was still like, okay, I just need to like continue to hustle, continue to work hard, continue to like get my grades so I could get out of there and like find a job that would resonate with me. Little did I know at that season, I was I was I was not in touch with myself. I was going on autopilot, compartmentalizing parts of me that really needed to slow down, really wanted to slow down, and parts of me that did not want to be producing, parts of me that were in my feminine energy, parts of me that just wanted to experience nature, just wanted to play, just wanted to be a kid that I never got to be. And there were pockets of people that I remember that I really got to do that with. And those were folks that I played mafia with all night. Folks that I like just ate, buffalo wings with all night and listened to R&B music, or people that I just like we were just like doing simple things at night. It was those memories that really I like hung on to, but they were few and far between because I had to fight the other parts of me that were just wanting to stay up and work, 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 even on the weekends, not really giving myself time and space to like really turn my brain off and just be with the younger parts of myself. So, what I'm outgrowing right now, and fast forward to my time in Seattle. I decided to not ever move back to New York City. Um, for me, that's been a really difficult decision because a lot of my family is in New York City, and that question keeps like shifting. My relationship to New York City is very, very filled with a lot of family baggage. And so my association with the city has to do a lot with my parts of myself that um, feel a little bit maybe, how do I put this? Like um, stifled and suffocated from my family. So I just needed, growing up, I knew I needed that distance to be me, to be the person that I am. And being a people pleaser growing up, being a person who really was conditioned and lived out the conditioning to please, to fawn, to self betray, I did not trust myself to be around my family members in their sharing with me if they're specifically my parents unsolicited advice for them to share with me about their agenda for my career, their agenda for my family, their agenda for what I teach my kids. And I was not ready to be in the same city, in the same like physical locale with folks that I did not feel fully fully secure, trusting myself and that I would back myself up. Now it feels different. Like now I feel like I can go back to New York City and be who I am unapologetically. Can I afford New York City? No, that's a whole different story. But for me, I felt like I needed space from New York City and what New York City represented for me in order for me to be who I am today. And what that afforded me was space and time for me to find my identity. A lot of us folks with complex trauma don't find our identities until we're like late in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and then do we have like a glimmer of safety. And for me, it took me leaving New York City, it took me leaving the church, the evangelical church, leaving like colonial mindset and institutional mindset of school to find my own wisdom. And what happened in that transition was I got married when I was 24. And a lot of y'all know that I used to be a missionary to China, and I used to be an evangelical Christian. No longer identify as that now. But for me, it took me to go away from my parents, like ways that they identify. They do not value inner work in the same way I do. So I needed to like go towards, and colonial Christianity, evangelicalism was not something that they were practicing too. So I almost had to like swing the other side of the pendulum in order to find who I was. And then I settled somewhere, where I am now, which is like I don't even know how to define where I am now, but um I needed to have space to say, no, I don't identify with my family. I don't know what I identify with, but I want to be curious about it without space, without their unsolicited advice. So my individuation journey happened within the container of marriage, and it's still happening today because a lot of what I thought was marriage was going to be about me finding a partner who agreed with me finding a partner who was really similar to me. But in fact, my partner is very different than me. And because of my family trauma, I never felt safe to be like, okay, like we can find safety in our differences. We can find safety and security in embracing our uniqueness. I knew that intellectually, but I really didn't like understand that until I've been in this marriage with my partner. My partner is somewhat, he also identifies as Chinese American. And a lot of you have read in my journey, I have discovered we signed up to, be missionaries together. We were evangelicals together. We married under the understanding that we were marrying evangelical Christians. And transitioning out from that has been really healing because a lot of what I know now is that I don't identify with the evangelical church. I'm I'm like moving away from institutional mindsets and institutional structures. And in my marriage, doing so, I would have thought would have been threatening to our marriage because my partner didn't sign up for this. But for me, and what I'm learning is as I'm different, as I'm becoming a different person, my partner is evolving and growing with me. And I haven't outgrown my partner because my partner allows me to be fully me, to be fully me, and doesn't give me unsolicited advice, doesn't criticize me, but they hold space for me because they know that they're holding space for their parts that are radically shifting too. And they're not seeing shifts or differences or changes as betrayals, but seeing shifting as just another normal way to look at growth. So another thing that I'm realizing is in this season, hi, hi studio friend. Um, Another thing that I'm realizing is that for me, I'm outgrowing things that don't allow me to be fully me. And that part of that is outgrowing my relationship to chaos. So my relationship to chaos, meaning um, I am, I had a really chaotic way of relating to my schedule. I had a really chaotic way of relating to my relationships. I did everything with a sense of urgency versus intentionality. And I was just doing things out of reactivity. And for me, when I sense that in myself and in other people, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was living so chaotically, like flying by the seat of my pants and not really like having a direction on where to go. And so that was something that I realized that I'm outgrowing is my relationship to chaos. I'm like really wanting to move towards a relationship with with peace and with ease. I used to be afraid of that. I legit used to be afraid of that. My nervous system was not familiar with having a relationship, an expansive relationship with ease. Because in New York, it's all about like movement, productivity, like chaos, and projecting my own chaos to other people. And so that is something that I'm also realizing like, I do not want that anymore. I want to move away from that, move away from a chaotic relationship with myself and moving away from other people who have chaotic relationship with their own time and energy. How does that work with talk therapy? How does that work with clinical work? When I am a mental health therapist and I'm calling in people who have chaos in their lives, um, what I'm realizing is that I'm actually also outgrowing talk therapy. I'm not outgrowing being a therapist necessarily. And maybe parts of me are outgrowing that like institutional mindset around therapy, but I am outgrowing like equating and coupling talk therapy with healing. I used to think talk therapy equals healing, and I'm learning that's not the case anymore. I know that seems really basic, but it's something that I feel like it's really important to address in this space. Talk therapy is great. The way modern day talk therapy works is that you come in, you speak to a person who has done a degree, has done higher education, advanced work, knowledge acquisition work, but not necessarily interpersonal work. And so the way modern day talk therapy is that you don't actually need to do personal work in order to guide others in doing their personal work. I believe that that is both. And that's part of the reason why I'm outgrowing talk therapy. Modern day talk therapy is that it is not valuing congruence in a person's life. If you are giving um, folks a space to be in container with you that's healing, it it worries me that folks don't do their own personal work. And so for me in my own journey of therapy and how modern day talk therapy works is also that's number one. Like I'm really skeptical when it comes to folks who are doing modern day talk therapy that they do not are not able to address they are resistant to addressing their own internal work. And I understand as being like a beginner therapist for be, being like a baby therapist, there isn't a lot of money or time to invest in your own personal work, but and that is not your fault. There are structures in place that prevent us from accessing like consistent affordable care, and we are forced to pay out of pocket for something because it is really not valued by the system, in the same ways like other like medicinal containers are valued with like mainstream medicine and stuff. Anyways, that's number one. I'm outgrowing modern day talk therapy as we know it because clinicians, I find that like it it was so easy to look for a clinician and wonder, are you doing your personal work? Number two is I've been in talk therapy personally. I've given talk therapy and I've received talk therapy for years. And I didn't realize that modern day talk therapy bypasses parts that are actually the source of a lot of people's like behaviors and triggers. What I mean by that is like for us, when you're doing talk therapy traditionally with your clients, let's say if my mental health therapist out there, you're talking to a part that you're talking about someone. Like if your client is anxious or your client is like let's say hustling, exhaustion, and burnt out. We're talking about the burnout. We're talking about parts that drive the burnout versus talking directly to the burnout itself. And so what I'm realizing is like the way that I've done talk therapy has been bypassing a lot of the big sources of triggers of people getting flooded, of people going offline, of people um like being triggered into big seasons of depression and anxiety. When we are not talking you doing when we are doing talk therapy, we are bypassing a lot of important parts. And so that's the number two reason why I feel like I'm outgrowing talk therapy, modern day talk therapy, why I'm outgrowing how clinical work shows up in the modern day world. Another reason why I'm outgrowing talk therapy is uh, that I realized that talk therapy and the boards, the licensing boards, the boards that like guide graduate school studies, they have no interest in healing. I know that sounds really weird. That sounds really counter what you've heard, but their interest is in business. And business and healing usually don't intersect if you're really focusing on the bottom line. So, what I mean by that is like they're really concerned with putting things in place to make sure therapists and it's more so clients don't aren't going to file and sue people, to sue therapists. That's really the driving force of a lot of boards. Like, don't sue therapists. That for me, when you drive whole institutions based on that, you get fearful there. You produce these institutions, and I was part of that institution, still part of that in some ways. You produce therapists that are really afraid of getting sued. And so what do you do when you're afraid of getting sued? You just like play it safe. I played it safe so many years in therapy, and I'm realizing, oh yeah, that playing it safe is costing me my identity, is costing me my authenticity, is costing me my personhood and my humanity because I have to like nod, people please, empathize, and not really like be fully myself. And a lot of us therapists who are in the matrix are maybe burnt out or maybe like exhausted from this type of work. But a lot of us don't really realize that it's not because of us, it's because of these institutions that have shaped our understanding of what healing is. So now we think healing has to happen in a certain way as clinicians, as mental health clinicians, but there's not an imagination. And I want to speak from me personally, there's not an imagination that we can exist outside of this. And so I do think there is a way to divest from this institutional mindset while staying in the container of being a private practice therapist. But there are some conditions that probably need to be met in order for that to happen. For me, I believe that it's important to have a wait list of people, to have marketing strategies. So you have a wait list of people or a desire list of people that are very aligned, that are really wanting to work with you so that you can be free to really work with your current clients, not out of a place of scarcity and not out of a place of like needing to pay your bills and to keeping them in a place of subconscious helplessness just so you could get paid. It's really important to be on social media or to do some type of marketing. It doesn't even have to be on social media, but to do some, for me, I believe it's almost ethical, more ethical to like be on social media or doing some type of marketing so that your livelihood is not solely tied to your current clients, but you really have the freedom to like come from a place of um generosity and moving out of that people pleasing mode. If we're in a people pleasing mode as therapists, and that's already our default factory settings, our livelihood it is intensified when our livelihood is tied to whether or not clients come back week after week. Hi Margarita, good to see you. I'm just talking about like why I'm outgrowing modern day therapy and the way therapy has been done in the modern day context. Um, in the modern day context, marketing is looked down upon. In the modern day context, talk therapy is centered. In the modern day context, um, like being a good therapist means like pleasing your client, going with them in their like urgencies, problem solving with them, doing whatever they want, basically. Doing whatever they want. And you having to be their us therapists, having to be their like I'm sorry, my internet's cutting in and out, but I'm still here. I'm staying here. basically doing whatever our client wants. And we have been conditioned for that in grad school, as well as before that, as like people from marginalized identities. So, is there a way to divest from this, like, do whatever my client wants mindset, plus divest from like my clients? If I don't make my clients happy, they will leave me. Therefore, my livelihood will be on the line. Is there a way to divest from like modern day talk therapy also in therapy where we talk around our problems? We talk around our problems in talk therapy, but not talk directly to the parts that are causing problems. Is there a way to divest from this while staying in the container of modern day therapists? Therapy identity? Yes, I do. I do believe that there's a way to do it. It might mean divesting from insurance companies because your insurance panels will want you to do things a certain way. It might mean having doing a lot of marketing so that your livelihood is not tied to your 10 clients that you're seeing every week. It might mean that we really interrogate our parts of us that hold these burdens of I am not good enough, I need to prove my worth, and change these parts of us that believe change happens when my clients obey me. Change does not happen when our clients obey us. We do not know what is in their best interest. They know what's in their best interest. And when we can tap into our intuition, our intuition has no agenda, and our intuition believes in other people's intuition, knowing what's best for them. That is not traditional modern day therapy. Modern day therapy has very little trust in our clients, has very little trust in ourselves because we be breeding folks out of grad school that are trying to work harder than our clients. We are like our institutions, our grad schools have, if you go through, I don't know what your curriculum was like, Margarita, in your grad school, but for me, it did not teach me to trust my clients. In fact, grad school and my internships taught me my clients were not trustworthy. They do not have intuition. We do not need to like draw that out for them and trust them that they have that intuition. We come from low trust mindsets. I mean, I just remember like my days. I don't know, Margarita, if you have family with little kids, like if you have little nibblings around or nieces and nephews or like your own kids. But I remember like reading the parenting books early on and just remembering like, wow, these parenting books just really tell me not to trust my kids or trust myself. And yeah, these books that I was reading, like parenting wise, they were like, our kids do not know their best interests. Our kids don't know anything. And so we need to be driving the bus, driving the show. We need to be like authoritative. Like I think the I think what I've heard in parenting, and this is like so related to therapy, modern day therapy, is like be a warm, authoritative figure. And I was like, what? That just sets people up for even more power imbalance. Like now it's just confusing because you're authoritative, but you're warm. And it's kind of like being in a church where you're like welcoming queer folks, but you don't have any space in leadership for queer folks to serve because your church is inherently not accepting of queer folks. That is like the confusion with warm authority. It's like I'm gonna welcome you and I'm gonna be like really hospitable towards you. But at the end of the day, my agenda is that I want to change you. That is like talk modern day talk therapy summed up, best case scenario. And so for me, what I'm outgrowing is this modern day version of talk therapy where um, I am not interested in telling people what they should do. I'm not interested in giving advice. I'm not interested in talking around someone's problems. In the modality that I use for healing, it's not talk therapy. IFS uses verbal exchange, but internal family systems is IFS. So internal family systems is doing parts work. And this is for me has been a game changing model of healing because I get to trust in that person's intuition. I get to trust in that person's um, ability to judge and make and create what is in their best interest. For me, I'm just guiding and facilitating that process for them to tap into it fully themselves, really. And it assumes that I am not the expert in their life, I'm not the authority, and I'm not being put in a position of power over them. It's very non hierarchical. Um, and for me, when I have found internal family systems, I just realized, and I do somatic work with them, with that. The combo of the two for me has been a game changer because it takes me completely out of the position of being the teacher, reinforcing like institutional mindset of parenting and therapy. Oh, Margarita writes, I don't have kids, but mothers have shared with me how much pressure they feel with parenting and meeting all these parenting expectations. Yes. Most of the time, they already know what they want to do. Yes. And so with you, Margarita, like, do you feel that like pressure as a therapist to have all the answers, to say the right things, to empathize accurately, to reflect accurately? I'm curious about like that kind of like that I feel like is the warm, authoritative like pressures that mental health therapists have in this institutional mindset. Yes. Oh, yes. Margarita, yes, of course. That is like what we've been indoctrinated with. Like, you need to do this and you need to do this well, because that is the measure of success of a modern day talk therapist is to empathize well, reflect well, attune well. And I'm not saying that those things are not valuable, but when you do that, it and you have this like warm, authoritative, institutional mindset, it means that you don't trust in the other person's ability to do this for themselves, to be the parent that they've always needed for themselves. And it puts you in a position as a therapist, I'm talking to me really. It puts me in a therapist position where I'm like, it feeds into the part of me that believes that when I do a good job, then my clients will see effective change in their life. When I do a good job of like attuning exquisitely or like being like a person who is holding my client with unconditional warm regard, that means that I'm the expert in this area, that I'm looked to as the parent figure in this area, this relationship. And there's nothing wrong with being seen as a parent figure, but when it is in how we define it in our modern day world, that parent figure takes away the agency from the client to see themselves as a parent that they've always wanted, the partner that they've always wanted, the friend that they've always wanted, the person that's always wanted. They're always going to be waiting for a person to rescue them versus seeing, like, I remember the day when somebody told me, like, there ain't no one rescuing you, Angela. Your partner is not going to rescue you. Your kids are not going to rescue you. The person you've been waiting for is not going to show up because it is you. You are the person you've been waiting for. And I just like crack up now because I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was my whole like longing behind wanting to get married. And then it switched to, oh my gosh, I really want kids because I want someone to like rescue me from my discomfort. There ain't no one coming for me. There's no one coming for your clients. You are not your client's rescuer. Um, when we do modern day talk therapy in the way that we're doing it now, it sets us up to be our client's rescuer. Because self inner work for the therapist is not the foundational core of our learning. It is not. We are not encouraged to do this inner work to work out all the parts of us who are showing up that like really demand obedience from our clients, demand that our clients change, demand that our clients um see, yeah, like be there, like demand that like we parts of us, parts of me, I can only speak for me, parts of me really love the power trip that I get from being a therapist. And unless I'm not like really keeping that in check, I'm going to eat it up and set my clients up for failure. So that's what I wanted to share a little bit about what I'm outgrowing, and that's what I'm outgrowing. I do not want that anymore. And I want to invite therapists, other specifically Asian therapists, folks of the Asian diaspora who are serving globally. You don't have to be serving here only in the United States, serving globally to divest from that institutional mindset that modern day therapy and training institutions um like create for us, which is this mindset of like being the rescuer for our clients, not trusting in their best interests, that they know what's in their best interest. I Hey Albert. Hey, I'm actually just like wrapping up and sharing about why modern day talk therapy and the institution of therapy is going to shit. And why I'm outgrowing it. So I really am grateful for this time and grateful for all of y'all who joined in, and really looking forward to my next live with y'all. Let me know what y'all think. Drop a comment in the replay if you're watching this in the replay, or if you have any just like thoughts or questions, let me know. Feel free to DM me, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye.